All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is King of Cards Tarot Readings. Today we have a general collective message reading. What have I been saying? Whatever. General collective. So, my my flash reading, sort of based off what I said the past couple readings. Um, and well, we'll see. Timeless readers, the last readings may or may not be as involved in your flash reading or in your final reading. We'll see. Basically, we were looking at a warning followed by a need to clear things, and we're trying to find the path towards the good, how to get to that place we want to be. So, my flash read of this is basically saying do what you have to do. Like, whatever you have to do, don't take others into account. Except where that is the thing you're doing is if you have to talk to some, if you have to talk to someone to get what you want, take them into account. Like, if you're trying to rent your dream apartment and you have to talk to a leasing agent or something, I don't know how that works. Um, then yeah, consider who they are and why you're talking to them and what can assist you. But at that point, they become part of the task, not like a person you're concerned about, the way I'm sure many of us in this collective, we get concerned about people. We do things and don't do things because of other people. And this reading is, to me, at least off the flash, is saying don't do that. Focus in. Put the blinders on. Don't look left or right. Focus on the task. Do what you need to do for you. Okay, so into the reading. So for our main issue, we have adjustment upright. And yeah, I'm getting this in this reading referring to like making a cut or cracking an egg, or pushing the needle through, drawing a stitch. I don't know if that's what they call it. Basically, in the act, in the action, a distinction is made. Left and right are separated. Inside, outside are. There's got to be a word from the same root as unite that means to like ununite. Whatever that would be. Gosh, words are so weird. Like disunite. Separate isn't quite strong enough for what I'm trying to say there. Whatever. It'll come through for whoever. Maybe it'll pop up later. Yeah, so adjustment here is referring to the way the world is different on the other side of the act. Like, you can't take it back. So to refer to the making a cut, they say measure twice, cut once. Earlier, I had told you all to measure twice and then measure twice again, but not to cut. So this is about that cut. And it might be a series of cuts, but each cut is distinct and impacts the final outcome. So I would say not to take it slow, but to bring your focus and your awareness to each cut each time. There doesn't seem to be a warning here other than, you know, do it the way you want it or it won't be what you want. That's a tough one. Yeah. Focus on why you are whatever it is, cutting, cracking. Do it intentionally. Do it with purpose. Even if you're being unintentional, let that be the intention. Say, I'm just doing what I want, but notice that that's a choice, and that's okay. The outcome will reflect it, will reflect the choice. So on the right hand side, our complementary opposal or our future state, we have the Nine of Swords in reverse, which is called cruelty in this deck. Now, to me, this card represents like turning it up intensity. It's like to the point at which beyond it would break. And or like the maximum cutting speed of the saw. So, yeah, it's like the maximum speed at which the tool can work. That's sort of what I see. So, if you're working with a material that can break and you don't want it to break, then you have to work below that threshold. But if it's something where it's like the material is so hard that you have to use multiple blades over the course of a cut, then you want to use each blade wisely and whatever. I don't know how that works. Like sometimes you use a blade till it breaks, sometimes you use a blade until it's lost sharpness. Either way, again, just be intentional about that. Do we break the blade? Okay, then work it down to break. Do we not want to let the blade break because that could mess up the cut? Then we got to watch for that. So, for me, cruelty is about pushing to the limit. And since we've got this in reverse, I'm seeing be careful of the limits of the material, of the tool, of the technique. And so that's where this adjustment is getting a little more complicated. It's a simple thing, it's a cut. We just make a cut. But it's really not that simple depending on where you are in the collective. Some of us have easier cuts to make than others. But either way, they impact the outcome of our preparation for what is coming. Because this is obviously not the thing we want. It's not like, oh, I just want to crack an egg into this frying pan. You have an outcome you want, whether that's a fried egg or whether other things go in with that cracked egg, or maybe you don't crack it directly into the pan. You crack it into a bowl and then you mix in flour. There's a lot of different ways this can go. But regardless, adjustment is saying focus on the process, focus on the steps, and keep the end result in mind while letting this intermediary step become its own final result. Okay, and then on the left for our nice. This is a good one. For our what do we call it? Our antithetical influence. There's another word I like, but or our past tense. Um, yeah, the counterproductive force to the main issue. We have Eight of Swords, which is called interference in this deck. Now, this card speaks to. I mean, I try not to let anything be obvious. I think that's important. I think it's easy to want to not investigate and just let things stand on the surfacest level, the most surface level. Let things stay surfaced, floating on the top. But this card has to do with not directly opposing forces, but the way a strong enough influence can offset an even stronger influence. So sometimes it doesn't have to match the force in order to affect the effect. And again, these are swords, which is air energy, can represent thought or vision. And I already, the adjustment card resonates sword, resonates cut, resonates division, pinpoint accuracy. And so interference is telling me that there have been a lot of other influences. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Fuck. So there've been all these other influences not keeping you from doing what you're doing, but impacting your ability to do what you do through so many different ways. Yeah. Wow. You have to put the blinders on. There is nothing valuable outside of your task. Be prepared to enter into the state. This is what last reading was about. This is why. This is why you have to clear. Oh my gosh. Because this requires your focus. This requires your attention. And you can't be having a conversation. You can't be thinking about the past or thinking about the future. You have to be focused on each time the task is performed. There's no autopilot. The tool does what it does. That's the level of autopilot, is that the blade cuts. But you have to guide the blade because the blade cuts where you guide it. And that's what this adjustment is about. It's about the range of what could be cut needs to be reduced to the absolute perfection point. Wow. Yeah. And we have the spectrum between cruelty and interference. So, interference reduces the precision and so many things. Reduces the precision is the easy way to say it, but really it's increasing the possibilities. And you don't want a probability spray. You want a 100% specific outcome. That's the whole thing. You want specifically something. So you gotta cut out all the external influence. It's just you and the blade. It has to be. Everything else is working against you. Everything else. Anything else. The floor supports you, and yet you must balance yourself in relationship to the floor and the table to cut if you use the table. If not, the floor might be all. And at the same time, on the cruelty side of the spectrum, you have to be aware that this cut is two things: blade and work. And the blade has its limits, and the work has its limits. And you have to respect both of those paradigms. I hope this is making sense to everyone, because it's making a lot of sense to me. How about a printer? You're printing something. So you got your paper and your ink. You got your image and then your screen or the printer. See, English has flattened meaning. So let's say you have an inkjet printer and what do we call it? Screen printer. What do they call that? There's a specific term for that kind of screen. Silk screen. You have a silk screen and you have an inkjet. Either way, you have your base image, which is essentially non-physical. It's the blueprint. It's digital in terms of inkjet, and for silkscreen, it could be digital or analog, physical. But either way, you have to transfer that onto the actual silk screen. And so your silk screen is like your inkjet, the printer itself, the technology, the hardware. These are physical things, and if anything about the physical thing is damaged or misaligned, that impacts the ability to transfer the non physical base blueprint image to the final result, the work, which in silkscreen maybe is a garment, some fabric. In terms of the inkjet, it's probably paper. It could be a label, name tag. There are other things you could print on. So you have your work, which is the object. You have your hardware, which is the delivery method. And then you have your blueprint image, your source, your whatever, something else there. Those words are all good though. Those three things are a relationship here. And then each time you print, you have the process of printing. So that's kind of what this is saying. Like, each time variance can enter in, will enter in. You're not using the same ink each time. Like, once you've used the ink, it's on the work. You're not using the same work each time, generally. Sometimes you double print a piece. Not often. I would like to see an art piece done. I'll do an art piece where a single piece of paper is passed through a printer multiple times, where a garment is printed on multiple times. That would be fun to see. But either way, you have the threefold material, the blueprint, the hardware, the work, and then you have each process each time, in which case the the work and the material are unique or iterated, I guess is a better way to describe it. But yeah, you got to focus each time. You can mess up each time. It determines the outcome, the relationship between those things. So yeah, I don't know. I've probably lost a lot of you at this point in the reading, but for our deck top card, we have the Nine of Cups, which is called Happiness. It's telling me good things. The setup is good. If you can focus each time you cut, each time you print, it's always going to come out good. The range of variance when you are focused is like 0.01. But when you're not focused, when you slide to the left towards interference, which is letting other external forces in, the variance skyrockets. And that's actually, since that's the antithetical, that's the worst option. That's going to give you way more disruptive behavior, interference. And then our positive level, cruelty, our affirmative influence, is saying, look, sometimes you get a piece of paper, it's too thin, or the grain's wrong. I don't know what problems you have with paper. And it's just a loss. And you're like, oh, fuck, that one's a loss. Or you check the paper and it's torn, and you're like, well, we can't print on this torn paper because it's already torn. So that's a loss. That's a reject. Sometimes it's not the work, it's the tool, the hardware. And you just can't work with that. Oh, the printer's out of ink. I mean, that's less what this is talking about. That's more what the last one was for. Be stocked. You want to have ink. You want to have paper. You want to make sure you have enough stuff. Go back to yesterday's reading if that doesn't make sense to you. But yeah, that is way easier to manage and way less destructive. Sometimes it's more costly, but it's only costly if it's repetitive or if it's a one-time cost, you know. Yeah, happiness is saying the system works well, the flow is correct from source to sink. It's allowed to flourish, to come into fullness. Yeah, I don't know what to say for everybody. I feel like this has been a really succinct reading. Maybe I'm getting better at this, doing the collective stuff. Did a personal read for a friend, and it seemed to answer a lot of their questions. I feel like I did a better job for their reading because of these readings, the general collective readings. Showed me some insight to my own situation too. I was able to see how my friend and I went through similar things differently. But yeah, I'm grateful to all my beautiful collective for tuning in. Even though at time of recording, nobody has, and that's funny to me. But I believe. And if not, whatever. I'm getting a lot out of this, anyways. But like I've said before, you know, these are timeless. When you come to it, it'll be right for you. And if you come to it later, you're going to be able to scroll back, go all the way back to, I think it's October 3rd was the first one, 2021. Um, and don't forget the induction video. That video is designed to pull you deeper into the channel, give you an understanding of what all of this is. And yeah. But as the channel grows, I'm just grateful for all of you who tune in, whether you subscribe or not. If you're listening to this, I don't know. I was gonna say make some noise or something, some like gratitude noise, but I couldn't. I couldn't produce a sound. But the intention's there. Yeah, something about like even if I'm silent, you can feel the difference between the recording of my silence and like the lack of a recording. Like if you press play, I mean pause, you won't get the same vibes as if you listen to that pause. I'm trying to tune y'all. I'm trying to get the frequencies adjusted. It doesn't take much. We all make sacrifices, okay? So this reading is saying, let your sacrifice serve you. Stop giving your attention away in such large quantities. Bring it in. Focus. Do what you need to do. You got this. You're set up for success. Whatever you're working on now is what you're supposed to be working on. But there's a way to get through it, to move forward, that doubles your effect, redoubles your effect. Yeah, so I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you'll know when new messages are posted. Yeah, stay safe out there. This has been King of Cards Tarot Readings. I'll see you all real soon.